All right. I think we're good to go. All right, first fucking question. What do you think about President Trump?
I don't think I think he's a much better president than he is a person.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What sort of things did he do as a president that
We
led you to that?
haven't seen the economy in that prospering state in a long, long time, even though he made a fool out of himself on Twitter and was just a jackass in general. But
Oh, with my face and like right on the mic when you speak?
yeah.
Thank
Um, but he knew about one thing, that's money. He was billionaire and he had the country financially prospering, even though there was debates about a lot of other stuff. But for the time period that he was president, I think he was good for from an economical standpoint, but he's not a kind of person that should be president.
And now, real quick, I forgot to do this. Why do you say he's not the kind of person that should be president? If he's still, as you say, helping the country prosper monetarily, why do you say he shouldn't be president?
I think the president is one of the most serious jobs in the world, like being a government leader. And I don't think a government leader should make some of the comments he made, tweet the way he did, act the way he did, get a spray tan 3 days a week, stuff like that. I just don't think is right for the president.
Why do you think he ended up getting elected at all? Just based on like what you saw on the ground in your own life.
Um, he definitely has a way to rally people, and especially in politics, like running for candidacy, being able to rally people and get people behind what you want to do is a huge thing. And he definitely had a good way with that,
Mm.
I think. And I also don't think, since he was the Republican nominee, I don't think the Democratic side was as strong as his was.
Yeah, I agree. Hillary was looking pretty weak, like she already
Yeah,
had it in the bag type
pretty
shit.
shady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear of the, and I'm not saying this is true, it's in fact probably not true, but you hear of the Hillary Clinton was like the hit list or something like that?
Nah, I've never heard
There's
that.
on the interwebs, but of course you could find probably something like this for everyone. But like the idea is out there. I'm kind of taking this from Joe Rogan. You ever listen to the Joe Rogan
Yeah,
podcast?
all the time.
Yeah, he had a conversation. He was bringing up the point, like no one else has the idea of being whacked if you go against them, except for like Hillary Clinton. It's the Clinton hit list.
Yeah,
Yeah, she had a real fucking shady edge about her.
all the Clintons.
Dude, so all right. Did you hear anybody like that was really avid pro-Trump in your own like inner circle?
Yeah,
Yeah, what were
definitely.
their reasons, do you think?
I think a lot of it surprisingly had to do with more anti-Hillary Clinton or anti like liberal thinking than pro-Trump. But Trump was also so like I love America, money, that I think it appealed to a lot of people. And like one of my friends who is so pro-Trump is very into that. Like wants America to be a big powerhouse, wants everyone to make money, like just wants America to be the best country in the world. And like Trump's whole make America great again, I think really appeal to people like that.
So do you think, all right, did America seem to be hurting to you like beforehand? Like for this friend specifically, I don't know if he said anything about it, but like, did America seem like it was getting weaker? Because I've heard a lot of talk lately about like, oh, America's like the Roman Empire and we're on the fall now and we need to be able to like bring ourselves back up. But it's
Um,
weird because like in my own personal life, I haven't noticed too many things that support that, right? And I'm still young and I haven't paid much attention to it except for recently. But it seems like America's been doing fine, at least from what I've seen.
I would agree. I mean, I don't think you could say that we're on a decline in any way. I think a lot of it is right now we've had, I think, like 50 years of peace now
Yeah.
since at least the Vietnam War or
Oh, actually, no.
Afghanistan.
I think we're still in like six wars throughout the world.
Yeah, well,
Like we're some, but it's weird because it's not really talked about at all.
exactly. I think like in like World War II era and stuff like that, we would just publicly show our military dominance and show how much money we had and show all these innovations and technological inventions and stuff. So I think it was more of a we had such a rapid period of growth and now we kind of peaked. It's not to say that we won't go up more, but we're still leading the country in so many different areas.
Hmm.
But with that being said, I think some of America is being a little bit softer in their way of thinking, not as a country.
When you start you're talking about like the stereotypical, the liberal, soft mindset, like super sensitive,
Yeah,
everything.
I just think that the way the country is now, people aren't as into like working hard, earning stuff. They just they say something and want that to be like accepted. And I mean, I have no problem with the LGBTQ plus movement or Black Lives Matter movement. I support both of those, but I think from a general standpoint, you can't group all those people together. But I think there's people within that are just so way too invested in that idea that they take things way too personally.
When you say that idea, you mean like supporting those groups?
Yeah, like, because someone might say, for example, someone could say something about someone being gay and not mean it in any derogatory way or just like anything at all. And then someone's going to take offense to that and try to cancel them and stuff when it, like, I think stuff just gets blown out of proportion and you can't I don't personally I don't like talking about it because I feel like I say one word
Yes.
incorrectly and
The fucking sights are
yeah,
on me now.
exactly. And with the internet and everything, I just feel I don't want to get canceled, so I try to stay away from it as much as I do support it, but I don't want to make the mistake of slipping up on one word
Oh,
and
that
getting
fucking sucks. I've noticed myself like censoring myself in my own speech around people, and almost automatically when it comes to talks about race or sexuality and things along those lines, like the same as you're talking about, just fear of someone getting, I don't know, really aggressive towards me for just expressing a belief. And this brings like an interesting question. If you want to get rid of, for example, racism in the Black Lives Matter movement, did you ever hear of Daryl Davis?
no.
He's a dude who essentially walks around, not walks around, goes around and talks to Klans members. And he's a black guy and he talks to Klans members and he'll just ask them like, what are the origins of your belief? Why do you believe this? And he'll just engage in a really deep, respectful conversation about it. Ask questions. If he thinks there's a flaw in their argument, he'll point it out respectfully. He won't go there and try to beat over their head that they're wrong. He's just deeply curious about why they believe something that he thinks is so like utterly incorrect. And through having these conversations, hundreds of people in the clan have ended up leaving, and like high-ranking members, like state clan officials, have ended up leaving just for having these conversations with him over years. They're like, "Huh,
I now that you say that, I do think I saw.
a
I might
fat
not
black
have
guy,
Yeah,
mustache."
I haven't I didn't recognize the name, but I do know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
And I think having conversations, actual conversations where you're going back, not like debating, but just going back and forth with your thoughts and feelings is so much more productive than when the way some people in those communities talk about it now is they say something and you want to say something back. You're wrong and you're a horrible person.
That's there's something so like core that's fucked up about that when it's just in terms of the art of conversation, right? Like just wanting to smash someone over the head as soon as they say something that you disagree with. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, like, why some, because I feel like a lot of those people think they're fighting for the good. Like, they're fighting, like, this is how we end racism. If anyone expresses any thoughts about it, you just bash them over the head. Like, punch a Nazi in the face, that sort of idea. But taken to the extreme of any time someone says anything about race. Like, you're talking about the black community, and if someone were to point out the fact, and this is an old conversation I'm remembering with Ben Shapiro and someone else, he was talking to like the police department heads in Chicago, I think, and he was bringing up the point of is it racist to ask why are so many black youths disproportionately to white youths being locked up for like violent crimes, like not just oh they stole a candy bar, like no they're like killing people and not obviously the whole community. That's not what I want to say, but just a higher percentage. And just having that conversation, I feel like just ooh, like I'm treading on thin ice just
Yeah,
saying that.
yeah.
But it's weird. It's like I'm just bringing up a fact, and I feel like this is an important conversation to have, like a difference in I don't know, in culture regarding race. But I don't know.
Ben Shapiro really tiptoes with that line all the time.
all the time, right? He definitely
Yeah.
likes to provoke people and poke the bear
He
a lot.
provokes people and then he'll say nine different statistics and then they just get upset or something. But he really plays with that line
But
all the
I
time.
fuck with the fact that he knows his shit a lot of
Yeah.
time. And don't get me wrong, I'm not researching to the nth degree everything he says,
Oh, I don't think I've looked anything up once, but the way he says it makes me
right?
think he knows what he's talking.
So legit, especially when it stumps the people that are supposed to be like the people he talks to, it doesn't seem like he's picking out people that are very weak in their subject, right? Like he's not finding straw men to fight in these arguments, like the straw man that gets knocked over in 2 seconds. Like he seems to find people a lot of the time that are good, very well versed in the arguments he's having, and they seem to be stunned a lot of times
Yeah,
by the statistics, and that's what really gets me. It's like maybe he has a point, maybe he's onto something.
yeah. He has the way he like talks. I mean, sometimes he comes off like a dickhead, but
Without
the way
question.
he talks with like the constant backing up of his claims, like the constant evidence he has, I think he's earned himself a level of respect where he's not just saying this shit to piss people off. He's saying it because he believes it, and this is why.
Yeah,
And I think people can be like, okay, you have this belief because of this, and I understand that. This is what I think. And that's the kind of conversation that needs to happen more often instead of the, oh, you don't agree with me. You're wrong. You stop.
canceled.
Yeah, you shouldn't even be a person.
Right? It's
Yeah.
the most ridiculous. Like, I don't see what the end game of that. Well, no, I guess like I kind of see what the end game of that is. The cancel culture is just, and I don't want to jump to something as extreme as genocide, but at least when it comes to the realm of ideas, not of living creatures, but like idea genocide, you want to completely eradicate this idea, and you think that's going to be done by just never allow it to be spoken, never allow anybody to say it, which is weird because they still think it.
Yeah.
Like you still believe it, the belief doesn't go away.
They're just not saying it, but the thought is still happening.
Do I have
It
to say,
doesn't
I
make
don't
any
know
sense.
if you know there's a, I'll freak you out, but you do. Yeah, right? I'm like, I respect the fact they're so calm about it.
Yeah.
It annoys me when I see people like the Wasp combined, people just freak out.
Oh,
It's like, ah, fuck
okay.
you guys.
And I saw it land, but I didn't want to do anything because it's gonna sting me if I
Right? Dude,
freak
that
out
pisses
like
me
that.
off. When people freak out, and like, dude, that's what makes it
Yeah,
stinky.
you're just gonna provoke it more.
Dude, quick story. So I fucking hiked up a mountain with my uncle. I'm a little ass kid. We get to the top. My uncle's sitting there. He's talking to some lady that also drove to the top. We hiked. We were badass. They drove. Fucking just kidding. But a wasp lands on his head, and he's just calmly not doing anything. But she's just staring at him. She's like, "You know, there's a wasp on your head." He's like, "And what would you like me to do about that?"
Just so calmly.
Yeah,
And what should I do?
it just fucking flew away. And that always stuck in my head like, you now have a higher level of badassery just because,
Just being calm about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That there's another thing, at least when it comes to cultural conversations. I keep hearing that we grew up in an age of like of pussies, like of the world was like rounded off corners.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a trophy. The world was
The
nerfed.
participation trophy for a
Participation trophy.
generation.
Yeah. It's funny to see us start to get older, and I don't know, maybe that has something to do with this sensitivity online. Living in a world.
It could be. I think mostly our generation, or we're close enough to
23.
generations, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, is so like we're the product of when the country prospered for so many years. Like our parents are the baby boomers, and then we're the next generation after that, I guess. I think so much of that, just so much like success and everything got to be so like commonplace. And then when you wouldn't have success, it was a big issue and people would pout and pout. And then
Like,
the solution was, oh, you played. Congratulations. Instead of, oh, you won. Congratulations.
hmm
So I think it's more of like a laziness. Or like, I think I said earlier today to you, people expect stuff to just be given now. And that's not how it should be. At least for me. I hate participation trophies.
when I was a kid, it went over my head. I never realized. And it's only as an adult looking back, I'm like, oh, that was fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just, I didn't even fucking realize. I didn't think about it. I'm just like, oh boy, a trophy.
Yeah, I think I was probably be like 7 years old. Be like, ah, cool. Put it on
Yeah,
my shelf. I did something.
yeah,
And then
literally.
I would by like middle school or whatever. I was like, I hate that. That's fucking stupid.
It's funny that you can realize as a kid.
Yeah.
That's probably me is like the funniest thing. Like you're a fucking child in middle school looking at it like this is fucking stupid. But some adult somewhere is like, this is how we're gonna promote the youth, make them confident.
Good job,
Yeah.
especially for like I think so. In high school, I won two football state championships. I won the first one my sophomore year and then one my junior year. But my sophomore year, I didn't really play, so I didn't feel like I deserved shit. So everyone's ordering like the jackets,
You're like,
the
oh,
championship sweatshirts or whatever. And all I got was what was given to us. Everyone got a ring. I got my ring, and that was it.
Mhm.
I didn't deserve anything. I didn't deserve shit. So I didn't ask for. I rode the bench. I
uh-huh.
probably played 15 snaps of varsity. I rode the bench. I'm not getting a trophy
But
for
did you
that.
cheer them on, man?
Yeah, I was on the team. I practiced. I practiced with everyone.
I got hit by the people who won the
Yeah.
trophy.
But then the next year when we won again, I was playing. I wasn't like a starter. I wasn't the main person on the team, but I had a role and I played my role. I was on special teams. I was a rotational player, stuff like that. So
And you earned that shit.
yeah, the next like that year, I had a role on the team and I did shit in games. I didn't just get hit by the people who won the championship. So that year, I got my ring. I got like a jacket and everything.
Fuck yeah. And then you could wear it with
Yeah,
pride. Not like,
like I was earning something.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Dude, that makes me want. Okay, so I'm curious. Do you think that came from you, that mindset, or is it like, where do you think that mindset came from? Your parents, yourself, your culture? Like,
I think most of it probably came from me, but probably some from my dad.
mhm,
Just being, I mean, I'm sure if I really thought about it, I'm sure he was like, oh, like, congratulations the first year. But he played football in college, and I played football every year of my life until I came to college. And we were always good and stuff, but I never felt like I was doing good enough unless I was like making an impact on the
mhm,
game. So when it came down to like, so to get back on the topic of participation trophies for this point I'm trying to make, I'm saying way too many words, but
no, you're good. You're
when we
fine.
had youth football, after every game, they'd give out a game ball and a dog bone to the two people who made a big play or whatever. And we'd be like 10 years old. We
Mhm.
really cared, but I was like, I'm going to get that fucking dog bone every game.
It's a real competitive nature.
Yeah, so I think I had like that competitive nature, like I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna earn it. I'm gonna work and get this because I want it.
Mhm.
And then I think like part of that competitive nature came from my dad because I got super competitive from like fourth grade to like sophomore year. I was so competitive. And then I kind of stopped caring about some stuff for
Mhm.
other reasons. But I think some of that mindset, especially when I was on the field, came from my dad. Like he definitely instilled in me like if I'm playing football and I'm lined up against you, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Uh-huh.
You're not gonna kick mine. I'm gonna put you in the dirt. So like that's what I think I got from him. And then what I got for myself was like I didn't do anything, so why should I be rewarded?
Just the simple logic, like 1 plus 1. Like I didn't do anything. Reward? Why am I getting that?
Yeah, like I think at one point I started questioning like we might have had one really shitty football season and we all got a trophy at the end. And I was like, fuck is this for? We won two games. What? I think
Throwing against the fucking
and then I
wall.
think that's when like my mind started to change. Like I don't want this trophy. Like I might keep it like Kobe Bryant, keep that as like motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I think
This was a sucky season. That's what this trophy's
yeah,
about.
I think there's a story from Kobe Bryant, rest in peace to him and his daughter, because it was he coached his daughter's AAU basketball team, and they played the same team 2 years in a row. And I think the first year they went to a tournament, they all got trophies, like some dumb participation trophy, and they lost by like 78 points, like got blown out. And then they played the same team with the same girls the next year at the same tournament. They won the whole tournament and beat that team by like 100 points.
I
It was
think
like
Kobe was training them for
153
next
to
year.
like 27.
Hmm.
And he was like, I think he told his daughter, like, print out a picture every practice, put it up on the wall, like had his daughter's like trophy or whatever right there, and just like use that, like look at that and realize what happened and motivate yourself with that. So I think that's a big thing. It's like participation trophies you could use fuck this because it's stupid, or I participated. I don't want this reward, but I'm gonna motivate myself to get the winning reward.
Dude, that's an interesting idea because so much of my life I've tried to use positivity as fuel, like just as simple as that, positive emotion trying to motivate me and fuel myself. But there's something real fucking potent about using negative emotion to motivate
Yeah,
yourself, like being motivated by your failures. Like that's a powerful fucking
yeah,
fuel, man.
definitely, definitely.
I think that's a little bit of the what's it called? The sensitive part of myself that I've been a little bit hesitant to use the negative emotion, the sadness and rage, shit
It's
like that.
almost like the I don't know if you are a Star Wars fan or not, but it's like the light side and the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the dark side still has quite a lot of power to it. Oh my,
a
all
lot
right.
of power, but a lot of stuff that's like come off with you. And
Yeah.
the light side's like, oh, great, we're awesome.
Super calm and zen, man.
But they're yeah, like super calm, zen, but we're still badasses when we
Mhm.
want to be. The dark side's like, I'm a fucking beast all the
Yeah.
time.
There's something so fucking appealing about just being a fucking savage, a
Yeah, yeah,
barbarian, bro.
yeah.
Dude, okay, do you ever hear of ayahuasca?
No.
It's a old shamanic sort of medicine, right? It's a
Wait, how
psychedelic
do you
sort of
spell it?
medicine. A
Yeah,
Y
I know.
A
Yeah,
H. There.
yeah. I didn't know how to say it, but I know how to spell it.
Right, or I've heard ayahuasca, fucking whatever, but you get the idea of it. So I did that earlier this summer with my mom. We went to Mexico. There were like some fucking shamans guiding us in a group through the whole 9 yards. It was some crazy shit. Very healing, by the way. If you ever feel like you need something to kickstart you and get you through a rough patch or do some healing, I feel weird about recommending it because it's something like it's a powerful thing. Like you gotta understand, it's not gonna be super fun in games when you go there. Like it's gonna be a lot of hard work and
Yeah.
unpleasant and just like your stomach hurting and shit like that. But anywho, there was one time I was doing it, the last ceremony, because we did ayahuasca 3 times in a week, and during the last time I was doing it, you're supposed to have an intention when you go into it, and I was going into it with the intention of just fucking let me see what I need to see most. Like God, show me what do I need to see most. That's what my intention is. And oh my God, was in so much pain that time. Like the night before, I had a blast. Like the first night sucked. Second night, great time. Third night, right back to the suck. Like the most pain I had been in the whole like in a long time. Like just stomach aches. Listen, do you want sunglasses? I
I
have
might
some.
just move my chair this way.
Yeah, you're good. If you want, I can grab. I have a pair of sunglasses in the car.
I think it's all right if I sit. Yeah, this is fine.
All right, cool.
All right, there we go.
All right. Um, so yeah, and I could feel myself like becoming part of the dark side, but in a good way. Like it was showing me like, oh, you had this idea of you shouldn't be these sorts of things. These things like they were in the box of bad person. If you use these sort of motivators or this sort of fuel, you're a bad person. You're on the dark side now. But that night really showed me like there's a lot of good parts to that Star Wars Sith side. Like we're talking about
Yeah.
that super like rage as fuel or these negative emotions as fuel. So I don't know, that was just something some food for thought for me
I
anyway.
can remember when I'm playing sports, I'm a pretty calm person, but something pisses me off, I'll flip the switch. Nothing like crazy,
Hmm.
but in sports especially, someone will say something wrong with me, I'll be, I'm gonna bust your ass now. I'll get mad and I'll use that, and that's when I think I'm at my best, at least for sports.
Hmm.
I'll get pissed off, or like,
Ooh, you might have
you don't, sorry,
no, you're
you
good.
don't think, or like with like school, if someone's like, I think I'm smarter than you, I'll be like, fuck no, you're not. I'm gonna show you how smart I am. Like, especially when like I'll talk to kids in my fraternity that think they're good at basketball but never played. Because I never played basketball, but I played freshman year of high school and then made the varsity team twice and quit. So I didn't like really actually play. Some of these kids would be like, I never played, but I would have been on whatever. I'd be like, I will beat you 21-0. They're like, no, you won't. We can go right now and play.
Hmm.
And I think just having that, like, it's just like an edge, like a chip on your shoulder, having something to prove
Hmm.
really can motivate a person in every way. Sports, school, careers.
Now,
every
I'm
day.
curious. I want to see the two sides of it, both sides of the coin, right? Like, has it ever been a dark, regretful, like, have you ever gone down a bad path using that chip on the shoulder? And on the flip side, I also want to hear of like the best moments of being fueled by a chip on your shoulder, if that makes sense.
Oh, and the best moment is definitely the first time I dunked a basketball. I never dunked a basketball before, and it was like a intramural basketball league. So like no one cared. Everyone was just playing for fun.
Mhm.
But we were losing by like 10 points with like 40 seconds left, and I was so pissed because my team sucked. I probably had 30 points, and we were still losing, and my team was just not very good. And I got so mad. I just stole the ball. I'm dribbling down the courts. People in the crowd are yelling, "Dunk it," because I have a breakaway.
Hmm.
I've never dunked. I've never tried to dunk in a game. It was kind of like I put it on the rim and like sit in a little bit. And to this day, I've never dunked as hard as I did then, but I went up there and I slammed that ball down, and it felt so good. And I didn't even think it was anything crazy. I just dunked, turned around, ran down the court, and I was ready to keep playing. It was kind of just like you get in a zone like that. Yeah. And I think using like the dark motivation, you could get into a zone like that where you're just like locked in.
Fuck yeah.
And then I mean, there's definitely times where like you get too mad playing a sport and you try to do too much
Mm.
and then you just screw yourself over.
Fuck yeah. All right, all right. As much as you'd be willing to say, what are some of the worst? What is the worst moment you're willing to say where the dark energy? I will say some fucking woo woo. The dark energy, which isn't necessarily bad, but when did the dark energy go bad? Like in to the worst degree, at least in sports.
Um, hmm. I'm not a fighter, so I can never say I got into a fight or anything.
As soon as you start with that, I feel like,
But
yeah.
I could say that I showed a little bit too much emotion on the field. I think that dark side or dark energy, you're more emotional or more uncontrollably emotional. My high school football, something my high school football coach always said was, play with emotion, but don't play emotional. So I think that dark energy, it's a lot easier for someone to get emotional about it, and that's not always a good thing.
Mm. Get like possessed by it.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, it's weird when those old timey terms like possess, they start to get grounded in like psychological truth nowadays. Like, oh,
yeah.
they were onto something then.
It's like all the scary movies, someone gets possessed, and now someone will say that. I'm not thinking of like The Exorcist. I'm thinking of
Ah,
something totally different.
there's someone on the sports field getting like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all right, bro. On that note, what is one of your biggest regrets?
Couple of those.
Ditto.
Um, Probably not like putting everything I had into a sport to try and do something with it, like play. I could have played a college sport just because I was an athlete, played multiple sports. I could have played lacrosse or football or something at like a small D3 school, nothing crazy. But I think if I really put like my time, like my free time and effort into doing something, I could have taken it further. But just knowing that I didn't even try like give everything I had to pursue that, it makes me want to go back and do that.
So,
Even if it didn't amount to anything, it just sucks knowing that I could have given more.
so are you saying you did try to do a sport in college, but it was like, I
It
wasn't
was like
really.
if it happens, it happens. But I wish I could go back and pick a sport when I was a young kid and just do that and just get myself good at that and put in all my effort to that instead of, oh, I don't regret playing all the sports I did at all, but instead of playing multiple different sports and just going to practice and home and games, I wish I picked one sport that I really loved and gave everything I had to that sport, like my free time, just to be the best that I could be. And then if I wasn't good enough, I wasn't good enough. But knowing that I gave
everything I had would be awesome. Knowing that I didn't give everything I had isn't the best feeling.
So why didn't you, do you think?
Lack of wisdom, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like short-term thinking, definitely. There were
Gotcha.
times where I didn't want to do something because it would cut into times I could be doing shit with my friends. So
Yeah, I can understand that.
yeah.
Just want to hang out, that fun in the moment.
I quit basketball twice because I had two or three friends on the team, kids I hung out with, but the 20 other of my friends are playing intramural basketball, so I went and decided to do that instead,
So why
which
do you want to master something? Like, why do you think you want to like put all of yourself into one specific thing and become a master of it? Like,
I think just knowing, like now I'm studying finance in college, but I don't really know what kind of job I really want. So I think it's also like a kind of like a security thing. Like if I'm giving everything I have to this, that's what I'm gonna do. Instead of, oh, I kind of want to do this finance thing, but I don't really want to know what I want to do with it.
hmm
So knowing I put all my chips into one thing and like whatever comes from that would be good because I would either be screwed or super happy.
understandable, right? The sort of peace of mind of everything in one basket. There is something kind of appealing to that, right?
Yeah,
Like when I see the old samurai movies and they're all super focused on to like one task in life. There's something that seems so peaceful about that. Like you never have to worry about purposelessness and oh, what do I do with my life? Like no, I know
yeah,
exactly what I do with like every second
exactly.
of my life and every ounce of effort. So what have been like your biggest dreams in life and what at the moment is your biggest dream like for the future?
I would say my biggest dream for the future would to be managing the salary cap for the 76ers.
What's the
Very
salary?
specific. Like just like any other payroll, except it's a payroll of the 13 full-time players and then two-way players of an NBA roster. So just managing their contracts and salaries. And then every off season there's free agency, and then for trades you have to look at the salary then. And then I know more in the NFL it happens, especially with the Eagles. Players restructure their contracts to either get more money now or push back money for cut their salary in half this year and add it to their salary in 3 years. So it opens up more money to bring in more players now.
Gotcha.
And that's something I've always just been into. Like that I think that appeals to what I like about money, and it also appeals to what I like about sports. Because since I was as young as I can remember, I've known all these statistics, all these names, everything I could about like basketball and football. I've known as much as I could because I love that stuff.
Uh-huh. So are you into the draft teams and things
Yeah,
like that? Yeah.
yeah. So I think just my biggest dream would be doing anything like that. And then what was the other? I forget what you asked.
Something about dreams. You know what? While we're on this note, I'm curious. Like, all right, so 3, 4, 5-ish years down the line, that's the dream job. What are the other, like, realistically speaking, the best parts of your life? Like, if you could have the best life, everything went right to the best way, best degree it can. Like 4 or 5 years down the line, what does your life look like?
Probably living in a big city.
Like New
Prefer,
York?
yeah, preferably like Philadelphia, Boston, New
Mm-hmm.
York. I wouldn't even mind like a Charlotte. I mean, I wouldn't even mind like Miami either.
Mm-hmm.
Just get down to the warm
Yeah,
weather.
Miami, that ain't half bad, man.
But I would say like a city, living in a big city, probably in the east. Um, Definitely close to some water. I
Mm-hmm.
love the beach. I have to be able to go to the beach.
Fuck yeah.
And then in terms of like a career, I would have in 3 to 5 years. I'll have my first job in 2 years, so I would say by like 5 years, I would want to move up at least one position
Mm-hmm.
or find a higher position in another place. And as long as I'm working with like stocks, statistics, computers or sports, I'll be happy. I
Gotcha.
don't plan on working a career for more than 15, 20 years.
And you want to retire after 15, 20?
Not necessarily retire, but find something like I could go bartend and I'd be just as happy because I made my money from working and I'm going to try to save up as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But even just moving to like the Florida Keys and bartending, making $40,000 a year or something not very lucrative, but I'm in somewhere that I love and I have time. I'm not stressed. I think that's when I'd be happiest in life, probably.
Fuck yeah. So what do you think you would do at that time? You have the free time. This is like the 40-year-old Kyle, and you got the money. You have a job, I don't know, 30 hours a week, something light like
Buy a
that.
boat,
Yeah.
go fishing, go surfing,
Hmm.
just, I don't know, be around the ocean, probably.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
There's something so, this is such a consistent theme with humans that there's something grounding, something that like clears your mind, helps you just feel healthy and like at peace being by an ocean. For me, like that would be the mountains. Just something about
Yeah.
being by fucking nature. Oh, it
I,
feels so right.
I'm such a more outdoors person.
Hmm.
I hate just being cooped up inside.
Oh, so COVID must have been fucking.
Oh, it was hell. I like driving too. So during COVID, it got to the point. All in my town, I live in a small town, Haddonfield. You know
Oh, I've heard
Haddonfield?
of it. Hmm.
Yeah, small town. They shut off all the lights at like the traffic lights at like 9 o'clock during COVID for something. I forget what. But I would be driving around town, sitting at a red light for 5 minutes, not see a car for the last 30 minutes in a town of 10,000 people. There's only so many roads, and I was like, someone else has to be out driving. I would drive around until I saw one other person. It might take an hour. And then we had a curfew where after 9 o'clock you couldn't be outside at all. Like no mask and nothing like that. You just couldn't be outside.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's some fucking like military law.
Yeah, it was crazy when I heard that. I was like, what the fuck? But during that time, me and my friends would find ways around that to be able to go do stuff.
What would be the ways around doing
We would be like, I'd tell my parents, oh, like, yeah, we're gonna have a bonfire, like social distance, even though we'd probably be this far apart,
it?
just a fire sitting there talking, but we wouldn't like go into anyone else's house and stuff, so we'd find stuff to do outside all the time, which was nice
Hmm.
because it was better than normally stuff we do sitting in a basement, hanging out. We would go do random shit. And I actually went with one of my best friends to Ocean City in the middle of lockdown. We were the only two people on the beach. And it was like late March probably. So the wind's kicking, sand's flying. We both have a shirt, like a quarter zip and a sweatshirt on. And we got so cold we put another sweatshirt on and two pairs of sweatpants. And we're just sitting there fishing for hours. Hours. We probably went 3 or 4 times and we'd stay for like 2 nights.
Fuck
Just a,
yeah, no cops, nothing.
nothing, just sitting there
Like you're only two people in the
getting
world.
drunk,
Uh-huh.
fishing for 4 hours and then going to sleep and waking up the next morning doing the same thing for 8 hours and then going home.
Sounds pretty fucking good,
Yeah,
bro.
it was a great time. And
Ah.
especially with not being able to do like anything else, at least I could go fishing.
Mhm.
Like just doing stuff like that. Awesome.
Fuck yeah, it's cool to see like one of the staples of this age is like stimulation, constant like screen, 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 everywhere,
Yeah,
lights flashing, sound, stimulation. But it's so cool to know that like you could just spend 4 fucking hours, have the best time of your life, do nothing but sip some beers and fish. And
that's
just
also something about our generation with the screens and stuff. People have gotten so antisocial and so focused on what's going on social media and what's going on with stuff that doesn't even affect them even in the slightest, all through the internet, that like being outside and experiencing nature and experiencing things yourself instead of looking at them on your phone has become like a lost art.
fuck yeah, and it'll be weird, bro. I'll be on the phone, like just scrolling like a fucking automaton just through my phone, and I'll notice that I'll look away and just look at trees like around us like we are right now, and I'll feel immediately so much better. But it's like fucking hypnotizing, like it
It's
just pulls you.
addicting.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
addicting.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a weird one. And I was learning not a crazy amount, but I was really fascinated in addiction over the past year, so I was reading into it a bit. And I found that the consistent theme was trauma. There's some sort of trauma that happened some point in your life, typically in childhood, that you're trying to relieve the pain of, the suffering of, by doing this addiction. And it's really, there's some temporary pleasure or relief that you get from whatever it is, whether that could be drugs, it could be sex, it could be your phone, it could be gambling, it could be like literally anything could take the form of an addiction. Provides a little bit of relief, and you feel compelled to do it again once you stop. And it's really hard to stop doing. So when I hear like the phone is addictive, it makes me wonder, especially since so many people fall prey to that addiction, like what I feel like there has to be a source of pain. Like there's a source of suffering that people are trying to relieve by digging into their phone. And I don't know, like what
I think there's a couple different things that people use it for. I think for so many people, it's like a distraction, like a way, like, oh, I have this much stuff to do. I'm gonna go on my phone for a little bit and then do it. But a little bit turns into 2 hours. You're sitting there looking at God knows what on your phone. And I think it's a way to like push your problems back.
Hmm,
And then there's also, um, for people that are very like social people, they're alone with their phone. All they're doing is seeing what everyone else is doing,
true enough.
which that's something I've noticed recently, probably in the past. It's probably since my second semester of college. So this is my third semester. So last semester and this semester, I really noticed people are so uh fascinated by what random people are doing. It's unbelievable. I could see one of my friends go on Snapchat and look at 185 Snapchat stories that are nothing. Like
Like
they're absolutely
you're
nothing. Yeah.
going for a drive.
Why do you care? And why do those people need to tell you that? I don't know. But why you really need to waste your time checking on someone that you don't really know what they're doing?
Have to hey man, I'm trying to be a social media personality and you're shooting down my career. No, I'm fucking with you.
No,
I
no,
get what you're
not
saying.
like that.
I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. Uh-huh. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I
no,
just
no,
have
no, not
to
at all. I didn't mean anything like that.
yeah, cancel you now, bro.
Uh,
Feel like that was a microaggression, man. No, but fuck yeah, that was such a strong point you made, especially about like an extroverted person. I love to be around people and things, and like another staple of our generation I keep hearing is loneliness, like being alone. So how do I solve the pain of being alone when I love to be around people? That's like a substitute. Just live through these people's stories, live in their stories.
I think mostly it's like Snapchat stories. Most of them are so stupid. And I could watch someone look at them for 30 straight minutes, just that. And me, I look at even ones that are like I'm on someone's private story, so there's only 30 people, they're posting it for 30 people. I'll still just click through it. It's stupid.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, podcasts especially are different because there's substance to it. Like Instagram actual posts are different because I know personally I get a lot of my news on there. Like if something happened in the NFL, I'll probably see it on there. So there's like that's like information. You're I'm looking at it for information or seeing what like I think a post and like a story is totally different because a story could be one little thing, like little clip thing, little picture of one thing, but a post is like, look, it's me and my friends. Like that's something you want to share with like, hey, it's me and my friends. We're doing this with a funny little caption. Everyone can comment. But a story is just like, look, she's being funny, but no one knows why she's being funny. I mean, just as a random example. It's just like
Just a whole
you
bunch
don't
of fucking
comment,
nonsense.
you don't talk about it. It's just a 8-second video or a picture of something stupid.
I
You're
found
not getting
myself sometimes.
information from that.
Yeah, it's just like, bzz, like you said, a distraction. Like it's just
Yeah,
real mild stimulation. Kind of, I don't know, feels good, I guess. and you could just jump through, jump through, jump through. Yeah, really fucking weird. And now that TikTok is around,
Oh,
that's blowing up.
and all the stuff with China taking data.
That's a fucking
And
freaky one.
well, I don't use TikTok much anymore because it creeped me out too much. But the fact that I could say something and then 5 minutes later it's coming up on my phone creeps me out.
I've There have been times where it's really fucking weird. We're not even on an app doing anything. We're just near the microphones of our phone. And we'll say something about a particular song or a movie, and we'll be scrolling through YouTube a couple of minutes later, like me and my friends, and we'll see an ad for that movie, or that song will pop up on like recommended to
Yeah,
watch. And
it's real scary. I hate that. I started taping off my
the camera.
webcam on my computer at least. I use it too much on my phone that I can't just
Oh yeah, like
cut
every
it off.
fucking 2 seconds. That's
I
the
mean,
point.
it's because I'll take pictures or FaceTime someone and I use that camera for it, so
Hmm.
can't do much about that.
Weird time we're living in, man.
Yeah, it's
The age of spin. Oh my God, you ever hear of the singularity? Singularity, there's some real geeky, and I don't say that in a like negative way, like some real geeky fucking the smarty smart pants people of the world talking about it, and this is like turning into a really big religion in Silicon Valley, where there's this idea of we're gonna hit a point, and it's called the singularity, and what that point is, we reach a certain level of advancements in one of several fields of technology, which could be maybe it's AI, maybe it's supercomputing, maybe it's nanobots, whatever, several other technologies, and you reach a certain level of advancement in it that it starts to speed up the level of advancement in all these other groundbreaking technologies. So the way it was described was imagine in a month there's like 50 equivalents to the internet coming out. Like 50 Nobel Prize winning like every week just it just machine guns out and then you blink like you're in a coma for a month, you wake up and the world is just fucking different. And I keep
future,
say again?
future, the
Yeah.
future.
Like the future is now, man. And I keep hearing about that and that it could happen really recently. Like I hear about us being in the age of spin where our technology is the rate at which we advance our technology, the rate is speeding up like faster than ever before in history, and it's kind of getting outside of the level of control, almost like a snowball that's been rolled down the mountain, and you can't like it's getting to a point where we
The
can't stop it.
snowball effect, yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't know where it's going. Yeah, man, this is gonna be interesting.
Definitely now, especially with countries like China,
Yeah,
the people there, especially more than I think the population of the United States, have no clue about whatever their government's doing and half the stuff that's going on in the rest of the world because it's so censored.
that's weird. That's so
It's
fucking weird.
crazy to think about. I mean, especially like North Korea, though, people that live there don't know anything,
Yeah,
which is wild
that's
to
like
think
20
about.
million people.
And as an American saying, "Oh, I live here, there's so much freedom, the government tells us all this stuff, I know what's going on in the rest of the world." I don't think that's true. I think there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with organizations or groups that control the government more than the government knows it's being controlled.
When you hear about something like Epstein,
Yeah,
that's fucking freaking. You can like whoever's listening, you can call me a conspiracy nut all you fucking want. But when you tell me that I think he's in the same prison that El Chapo is being held in, like the highest of the high level prisons in our country, and the security guard was sleeping while the camera happened to have some errors at the time when he killed himself. Well,
yeah.
like there are fucking fractures they found on his ribs in the autopsy. It's like
Yeah, yeah, he must have hung himself pretty roughly.
yeah, bro, he's probably punching himself. He was just a really
It
tortured soul, man.
it's so much stuff like that. And I mean, he had that whole island.
Yeah.
And the whole it
The
used
fuck
if you
island.
watched Squid Game on
Yes. Oh,
Netflix,
that's a great fucking
great
show,
show.
bro.
But
Spoiler alert, potentially. And watch the show. Fucking hey,
definitely fucking watch it.
listen.
Amazing. But Epstein had that whole little island where he did all his creepy little things on.
And there were high
And
level people going this.
yeah, like I think I read the list like Miley Cyrus and random like the fuck is Miley Cyrus doing over there? Like crazy, crazy
I heard
names
Bill
on there.
Clinton went there like 20 times,
Yeah,
reported that he was on the plane going there.
yeah, like some crazy, like all these famous, important people going to do some really crazy shit on a secret island is
So,
yeah.
ah,
And then like that happened, and then I watched Squid Game, and I was thinking, how much shit like this, these secretive things really go on. Because when you think about how rich, like there's Bezos and Elon Musk, and they're so rich and they're so in the public eye.
yeah.
But if you go down the list of the richest people in the world,
Most of them you don't know who the fuck they
you
are.
not know who the fuck they are, and they have money out their ass. So what's stopping them from doing a little Squid Game human hunting thing? I think I read a story in middle school about this guy who would kidnap like 5 or 6 people and then hunt them on his property. Like a short story, like for grammar or whatever.
Mhm.
Like
Oh,
that was
like
what
the
it.
greatest game is
Yeah,
humans. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. And he would hunt them down, and I was like, now when I'm like that whole Epstein happened, and sitting there watching the Squid Game, like this all could be real, but no one would ever know.
Dude, when I think about it, it's like, how many times have I done a legal thing, whether that's just smoking weed with friends, and sorry, mom, but frankly, like doing LSD when I was a younger kid, and we went to like play paintball, we smoke, we do all these illegal things, and that's such on like the smallest level of criminality possible, right? Like some doofus kid in the suburbs is getting away with this sort of shit. And so you can only imagine at the highest level,
Yeah,
like I'm a billionaire's son and I'm bored. What am I doing?
exactly. You have too much money that you know what to do with. You
Mhm.
gotta do some
You combine that with like a
crazy
weird
stuff.
twisted morality.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a movie character.
Yeah.
Just too much money, and then like just like one idea you're so set on, you're throwing all your money at that idea.
Which is so fucked up because like all right, you talk about the people in Squid Games and the rich people were like, "Oh, they were bored, the high wasn't hitting the same. You got to keep getting more and more intense." But then you tell me something like I was hanging out with the homie at a beach and we were fishing. And it was like
The
the
best.
best. Like what the fuck are people missing when you go down that road of like I'm
Yeah.
doing the most extreme, I'm doing coke while I'm doing 180 on a highway.
Uh, like Henry Ruggs. You see that? He was an NFL player the other night.
Oh, didn't he kill someone?
He
I thought that
he
was a
was
movie
going
shot.
160 miles in his Corvette at 3:49 in the morning, and rear-ended a 23-year-old girl at a traffic light, and her car. Well, I'm assuming what happened is she got rear-ended, hit her head on the steering wheel or
See,
airbag.
160 something.
When uh the airbags deployed, he was going 130. So I think he hit the car going 160, and it slowed down and then deployed. But it came out that he was going like 159 miles an hour
How
at the
far
time of
did he
the
go
accident.
through that car? Like that's I'm just looking at a car now. Like how far in did he make it before the car stopped? But
Yeah, and it's stuff like that where he's grinded his entire life. Played football at Alabama, is now a professional football player, a top 15 pick in his draft, making millions of dollars. Probably did not come from a family where he made that had much money, and he's made it now. He's probably bought his parents a house, all this stuff. But there's something about it that you just can't stop. Speeding your car with a .16 blood alcohol content level at 4 in the morning.
isn't .08 the legal
It's
limit?
double the
Point
legal limit.
once,
Double the legal limit.
and who knows what else was in his fucking system?
Exactly. So what on earth? You achieved your dream. All you have to do is stay out of trouble, but you can't stop finding your amusement in stuff that is dangerous in this case, but
Not just for you, for fucking innocent
yeah,
civilians going about daily life.
it's that idea of like people could have everything but not be satisfied. I don't know why. He had practice the next day.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why what you're doing out at 4 in the morning. You probably got to be at practice at 12.
Living the high life, man. Like, and I hear about this in so many of the songs by The Weeknd. Like, you can hear the so fun, poppy dance songs, but you hear a pain in those that man's
Yeah.
songs. Like, it seems like he's going down that same road.
I feel like when he got started, he was all like catchy and stuff, and
Mhm.
then it flipped the switch and everything got like meaningful. Like, his
You ever
word,
say Save My
like
Tears?
it's real, yeah,
Yeah.
it's real catchy and stuff. But then you sit down,
Read the lyric.
you get a little too baked, and you
Depressed.
listen to it, and you're like, "Yo, is this guy okay?
Like, come on, man, give him
Drunk?
a hug.
Yeah, definitely.
Fuck, man. That makes me think of some old. You ever hear of Musashi?
Nah,
Old samurai fucking master, legendary Japanese. If you ever look into him, you'll find some fun stories. But he has a quote that goes something like if you go down a path in life, it's very similar to making a house. Where by that I mean if the wood is warped just very slightly, like very slightly when you're making, I don't know, the foundation for a house or support or whatever the fuck, when you get to the end of the house, that tiny misalignment will turn into a huge misalignment once you finish structuring the house. And what he meant by that is like if you're going down a path in life and you're misaligned by like your true purpose or your true good or whatever the fuck, once you get to the point of like he has everything, I made it in the fucking NFL, I'm rich, I'm all these things, but something was
that little
fucking
thing.
now I'm ramming into the back of someone's fucking car. But man, I say that, and I don't want to be too judgmental because I've done some stupid ass shit, like
Everyone has.
fucking like how I fucked up my leg, for example, right? And I imagine he's not much older than I was then, like he's in his young 20s, I imagine, right?
I think he might be 23 years old. Exactly.
You're right. And that's just the age of like not thinking of consequences, push it to the dance on the razor's edge type shit. But then it goes to a deeper level of like I'm putting other people's lives at risk that aren't consenting to this level of craziness I'm
Yeah,
engaging in. It's like,
feel like that really, at least the way I'm thinking of it, that level of dancing on like the razor's edge just reminds me of like, Jim Morrison,
sounds so fucking familiar.
lead singer of The Doors.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah,
that man, he slipped on fucking
guys like
razor's edge.
that where they've achieved everything. They're the biggest rock stars in the world, but they just do drugs all the time and party all the time until they can't do it anymore. As that being said, that leads me into the whole conspiracy of the 27 Club.
Yeah, man.
Is
That's hard
most
to ignore.
certainly real.
Dude, okay. Here, I'll put some psychological defense against that being a conspiracy for people being killed, although, who knows? I'm not denying that. I'm just playing the devil's advocate for a second. That I heard a psychologist talking about it, and he said, like, that's around the age where it could have been not anyway, that's around the age where you have to decide, like, am I playing for the long game? Am I going to make it to like 89, like the long game of life? Or which means I'm leaving the party life behind a bit. I'm moving to the next level of maturity. I'm more responsible, like things along those lines. Not so many crazy risks. Or am I get like I'm not willing to give up this crazy life, like the teenager who's playing in the construction sites recklessly, hanging off of forklifts, woo, doing drifts and shit. Like I'm not willing to let that go. I'm not willing to let that go, and then it poof, it killed you.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't know how much it's just I don't know how much it's a similar, like, the oldest guy in the club, like he didn't mature well, like he's like stale fruit. He didn't
yeah.
get the memo. He didn't mature correctly. Like I don't know if it's just these people aren't maturing correctly, whatever that means on a really technical level, or maybe there is some sort of fucking getting whacked type
I
shit.
think there's something just because of all the evidence of all of the people who died in some crazy way at that age that were famous. I think there's some evidence in that, but also I totally get what you're saying. Like the little kid in someone's never gonna die. Like that's some people are always gonna have that little crazy part to them, and I think this is a weird example, but the Rolling Stones, who are still on tour, well, most of them, the ones that are living, are still on tour this year, and I saw a picture of one of their posters, and three of them are wearing the same shit they used to wear in the 70s.
It looks weird.
And then one dude's wearing a Ralph Lauren polo with an Argyle sweater and khakis.
Right, like he
Like, you must have moved to the suburbs, had a couple children on the PTA at the elementary school, all of that. You were never a rock star.
memo.
Yeah.
That's so fucking funny, bro. Like the
They're
fact
all
that he's
wearing
still a
like
rock star,
different scarves, headbands,
leather pants,
leather jackets, and all that. And then there's just a guy standing on the side, like,
I'm a
I'm going home to make peanut butter and jellies for my kids after this.
But he's still with the homies.
And
Yeah,
he's
some
still with his
guys.
boys. Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. I don't know
Um,
what to make of that shit.
yeah.
That's just fucking
It was
funny.
it was real funny picture. I bet I could find it.
Huh?
Yeah. It was real funny.
Watch him be the craziest fucking one.
Yeah.
Like on the down low.
So they play a show and they go out afterwards, and all the other guys are going home at 10:30 at night, and he's staying out till 4 in the morning, even though he's 72 years
Uh,
old.
I told the wife I'm still with the guys. He's going to play some Squid Game shit. Oh my god, man. Oh, the Squid Games. Now I'm just going back to that. Like, I keep hearing that we've like lost our soul as a like there's a spiritual vacuum, like a fucking abyss in our society. I don't know if it has to do with losing religion. Like I heard Christianity got kneecapped in like the early late 1800s because it kept hunting for like truth. There was a core thing of its values was like stick to the truth. And because people kept doing that, it started to knock out the foundations of like the very religion that created that belief. And now people are in like a weird. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. There's like a rift between science and religion, and like that void between that place, I feel like that's a huge piece of why Squid why Squid Games happens, right? Like you remember the last episode, spoiler, where the old man, he's like, look at that homeless person out on the street.
If anyone helps them, I'll give you 20 won.
Yeah.
But if no one helps them, you give me 20 won or something.
That comes to like a core belief of humanity, like, and he believed, no, like humanity,
No one
no
cares.
one gives a shit. They're dead to that guy's dead to them. That part of their soul is fucking, they killed it off for whatever weird reason. I can't tell why. My mom used to live in on the other side of the Iron Curtain in a socialist country when she was growing up in Czechoslovakia before she moved here. And homelessness wasn't a thing. Like everyone was given a job from what I understand. Everyone was given housing and
Given a job, given the same apartment.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like there were a lot of flaws to it. It ended up crumbling.
But
But
everyone had a place to live.
yeah, and when she came here and she walked through New York, she saw a homeless guy like sleeping, but she looked at him. She was like, "Yo, that guy could be dead, and no one would fucking know. Everyone's just walking by like he's not there." She held her friend's hand like in fear. She's like, "Cause I'm afraid if I trip and fall, everyone's just gonna step over me and like not even notice." And she told me that with like dead
That
seriousness.
is terrifying idea. That is a terrifying.
You just trip. Oh, jeez. Oh, God.
I could not imagine, especially New York City of all places, come from a place like that.
She lived in a little village.
A place like that is unreal.
Dude, I love capitalism. Thank God. Like there are a million beautiful things that seem to come from this system we have, but something's missing, man.
There is something missing, and it's the people it affects is the people without a home and all that.
Oh my God. You ever go through a city during COVID?
It didn't
Tense. Tense. Fucking.
really.
I drove through Philly. I don't know, I was going to a park or something with some friends, and this was as the lockdowns were dying down. And we went through like the heart of Philly, like you know where the Rocky statue is, the
Yeah,
Rocky Steps, like right by there. My God,
like
man,
the art
tense,
museum. Oh, right
fucking like
outside.
everywhere on the grass, like nearby, it was littered. I was like, yo, what the fuck? And if there is some truth to the homeless, that some homeless people are lazy, have a poor work ethic, this, that, and the other. But my God, man, a lot of those people they have either a mental problem or they just lost a fucking job in a time where no one's hiring and
Yeah.
like, nah, I just can't pay my fucking bills. And
I mean, there's always going to be the people with drug problems. You give them money, they're just going to buy drugs, like addiction. But for every person that did that to himself, there's a person that got screwed and put in that position.
dude, I was listening to a psychologist who worked in like the dead fucking center of the drug capital of Canada. Like this place is legendary for having per square mile a ridiculous amount of hardcore addicts. Like I heard people like Russell Brand, you know, the comedian.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I was walking through there, and this was like something out of like an old school, like medieval horror painting. Like there are people with like rats on their shoulders, like missing teeth, like yellow skin and shit. And anyway, so I was listening to the doctor who worked in the heart of that, working with hardcore addicts, and he said without fail, every single one of my clients had some sort of horrible fucking trauma happen to them when they were a kid. Every single one of the women, without failing, he talked to like hundreds of hardcore addicts. Every woman had intense sexual abuse when they were young, and the men also had some like hardcore problems, and that just makes me fucking wonder. Like we grew up still in the drug war, right? So the propaganda we heard and the information we heard about addicts is they're making poor like life choices.
Everything we heard about addicts was it was their fault.
Yeah, it was their fucking fault, man. And I don't know, I feel like that ties into the Squid Game thing a little bit, like this dehumanizing people. Um, but it's so weird, like to care about person. Like if I just saw someone walking by right now, I don't know them, but
It's like a human to human thing more than a person to person thing. If I see someone walking, they're still a person. I might not know them, but if they trip and fall, I'll make sure they're okay. But that could start 100 different conversations because every person's not me and every person's not you. So
very
if
true.
I'm a pretentious person, I see someone fall, I'm gonna laugh at them and walk away. But the way I look at things, at least my philosophy is, there's a man walking there right now. He's a human. I'm a human. What would I want if he had issues, what would I want him, or if I had issues, what would I want him to do for me, and vice versa. So I think it's more like humans should help humans than persons should help person.
Do you
And
think it
that
should extend to other species too? Like, how far does that go, I wonder? Because, like, animals have been given, like, more rights than ever before in history, but then you hear of factory farming and shit like that.
do you remember the Fairlife thing like 2 years ago?
Hmm.
I never knew what Fairlife was, to be honest, but they were like a dairy company, like milk, chocolate milk, stuff like that.
Chocolate.
And they got exposed. They got exposed for just treating their calf and cows just horribly. Videos of the workers kicking them, hitting them with like golf carts, everything. There was like two people. It was a whole thing. Two people went like undercover, like got jobs there with cameras and mics, a whole thing. And then they got absolutely roasted. Everyone I knew talked about it until like screw Fairlife. They're terrible people. I'm walking to Acme yesterday. I still see the same amount of Fairlife stuff.
Yeah,
Nothing's changed. So as much as animals have the most rights they've ever had now, they're still treated as animals. And I don't think that'll ever change necessarily.
that's a weird one. Like, I feel like one of the keys to filling this spiritual void, to talk in real woo-woo terms, like lies in the Native American culture, or at least the Native American culture that I've heard of, right? Because there's the perfect skit is in Family Guy. Peter's walking through a fucking supermarket and he sees a guy. He's like, I wonder if that's a real Native American. And he just drops like a wrapper of gum on the floor, and you see like a teardrop fall from the guy's face. And he's like, "Oh, sorry."
Family Guy with jokes like that is amazing.
I agree. They
I
should never
hope
get canceled.
I hope Family Guy never stops. I hope South
South
Park
Park?
never
Fuck
stops.
yeah,
They
bro.
just signed a huge deal.
Yep.
Yeah, they just signed a big time deal, so that'll be on for a
They're gonna
while.
go to like fucking die. Did you see the COVID special?
Yeah. Oh
They
my
still got it.
gosh.
That was
They're
fucking
amazing. They have what? There's like 23 seasons of that show. Or
yeah, some ridiculous like
And
that.
everyone knows who Cartman is. Everyone knows who Penny is. Everyone knows that.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if it reached the point. Okay, I'd be a little surprised. But if Carbon became more popular than Jesus, you know?
I think, especially the way religion is now, and we've talked about what generations are multiple times over the past hour, but that's something that, like religion and Jesus, when I was young, there was so much less of my friends and classmates that were religious. I grew up religious. I would go to church on Sundays up until probably like seventh or eighth grade. I was pretty much religious. Now I kind of expanded off. Like I was religious through my parents, and now I have my own ideas. But something I noticed was when my parents were in school, my grandparents were in school, everyone went to church.
Yep.
Everyone did that stuff. And now, like my dad went to Catholic school for lower school and upper school, and then went to a Catholic college. So he was Catholic,
Mhm.
still is Catholic, all that. Didn't force it on me. He said you do whatever. Like he's Catholic, he has his beliefs, but he doesn't care. He doesn't
I like
care what
that.
I'm doing.
Hmm.
My mom's Lutheran, I believe,
Mm.
and she goes to church, watches church, talks about it, gives me ideas about it, all that stuff. And I'll ask her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, everyone I have all these church friends. They were all my classmates.
Hmm.
I don't think I met one person in church that I knew at
That's
school.
cool.
And most of the people, I mean, I didn't do it, so I don't know what CCD is, but I know a lot of people who did,
You know,
and they are some of the least religious people I know.
nowadays.
Yeah, and there's
Uh,
random people that I think it's so much more common that someone's like, I have a belief that there's something.
right.
There's could be some sort of God or high power. I believe that, but I don't believe Jesus was real. I don't believe Moses. I don't believe in any of that.
So what's your stance when it comes to religion? What is your
I think that, I mean, it's crazy because you see in history books, like in our history books, we're awesome. Like England sucked. I'm sure in English history books, we were like
those fucking Yankees?
the Yankees that seceded and started a war and all this stuff. So what I think is there's just no way that there's text that old and it hasn't been modified. So, do I think that that story is real? Parts.
And when you say real, like you mean
He
it
was a real
literally.
person in like a real place,
Mhm.
and people wrote this story because it actually happened. But I don't think he poured water and it was wine. I don't know if he, I think, see, I draw a line between believing a miracle happened and magic. I don't know if him coming back to life was a miracle or magic. And I don't think magic is real like that. So that's why I don't believe that he could turn water into wine. I do believe that he was a real person and he made up this thing in his head about God.
Do
He's
you
like,
see him more as like a Gandhi figure of his
yeah,
time? Like,
yes, definitely. Like Nelson Mandela, like an
mhm,
idealist person.
mhm,
But I think that because it was so back then, they talked about stuff differently and there's different ways of saying something or exaggerations.
yeah,
So I don't really think.
dude, it's so weird. I was reading a great book I highly recommend called *Sapiens*, and if I remember correctly from this book, the author was breaking down like, all right, you have to really understand that the way we believe science nowadays, like so wholeheartedly, at least a lot of people do,
Like proven science versus their science was just
magic was their science. Like, bro, when a sorcerer or a priest comes and tells you that this miracle happened or that miracle happened, or a witch comes and they say they cursed you, like, bro, like that's science.
yeah, they everyone believed that.
Yeah.
And also there was Jesus and there was Muhammad and there was all these people, but they were all some sort of magic chosen being.
They
And
were aliens. I'm telling
don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
you.
I
Hey,
could
who knows?
we might never stop talking if we get into that. But there's just so much contradictory stuff that is there. Like Jesus was a chosen person, so was Muhammad. But why did God choose him? Like there's so many different religions that there's no one story that you could accept as true.
It's weird. Oh, have you ever heard of Jordan Peterson?
No.
So he's the person that is because I used to be really atheistic, the sort of like fuck religion atheist
Yeah.
when I was a kid, my parents raised me Christian, all that. I went to church. Then out like in my young teen years, I started to like see the contradictions in it, and I started to take joy in crippling religion to like the best I could. Like, haha, it is false because of this, that, and the like. Yeah, fuck you guys, I'm smart. And then I kept like learning about because I was really curious about religions and Jordan Peterson is this psychologist, and he tries to like do psychological interpretations of the Bible. And I'm not exactly how to sure how to say that in other words, but like the way he described the Bible is people's best attempts to understand like how to live well in life, how to how the world was created. That was trying to explain psychological truths through stories a lot of the time. And that's why it's so full of flaws, because it's a human thing, right? So it's going to be full of flaws and all these scratches and ebbs to it. But there's a lot of truth to these stories. And so, like when you asked me earlier, or you said, "Is Jesus?" I didn't think Jesus was real. I get wrapped around the whole definition of real. Like, is he real as a representation of the ideal for humanity, or was he real as like a person who walked around? And I feel like that's gonna be the next evolution of religion, where
What
it's.
do you think?
I think, I think it was humans' attempts to understand, at least when it comes to Jesus, like the ideal of humanity. That's my current
Yeah,
belief. Like, and when I see Satan, I see that as like this is also the worst potential of humanity. Like both of these, this is the scale of humans. You can be one or the other, and we're gonna tell you how to become one or the other in the best way we can.
yeah,
Yeah, and when I look at other religions like Buddha, I think that is the same thing. There are some great books that break down all the similarities to religions found all over the world, like the constants, with cultures that never interacted with one another, having the same sort of like archetypal figure. And when I say archetypal figure, I mean like, you ever see Harry Potter?
yeah. Every
Oh,
single
all right, fuck yeah.
one.
So you know Dumbledore?
Yeah.
You ever see Lord of the Rings?
Some of them.
Okay, you know the old wizard Gandalf?
Yes.
Okay, so like both those guys, like they're interchangeable. They're like the same guy
Yeah.
essentially. They're the archetype of like the wise old man. So when I say archetype, like the archetype of the peak human, you'll find that in so many stories. The archetype of like the dangerous, chaotic unknown. That'll be
Yeah,
so
the good person versus a bad thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm rambling because my mind starts to shoot off in like spasms when I talk about this sort of stuff. But I'm lost now. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Um, this got me thinking about gods because I love like the mythology and stuff. Like just thinking of all these ideas people had about God, and then that brings me into, well, are these just stories or what made people think this? Was it aliens or whatever? And then that brings me into my next thing. It's probably the wrong place to draw like inspiration or from or whatever, but Marvel movies have like Thor. And
Yeah.
I thought Thor was some made up superhero. But it turns out to actually a
An old god.
mythical god. And there's all that stuff's real. Like his dad in those movies is a real god.
Dude, you're touching on a real quick, like Jordan Peterson. He's said we're turning to polytheism, which is like the mindset of the many gods.
Yeah,
He's like, just look at Marvel. Like one of the characters is literally Thor. It's a god.
it's an actual god. I had no idea until I'm sitting there and then I'm watching another movie and it's talking about Thor and Odin and all this stuff. And I forget some big ass wolf's name. I don't remember the wolf's
I
name,
do.
but you know what I'm talking about. Talking about all this stuff. I'm like, what? I didn't know this was a Marvel movie. I look it up and I'm like, it's not. So, so I look up like Thor and I scroll down a little bit because obviously the movies come up and there's a little page like Norse mythology. I read that shit for like 2 hours. I was like, this is so fucking cool.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Like that got me convinced. Well, I do believe there's definitely aliens out there, 100%, but that got me 100% believing that they've been on Earth, probably the pyramids. I mean, that's like the number one thing everyone says or whatever, but I could totally see that. And then a couple other things around the world, like it makes me question. But like all these polytheistic gods and stuff, there's a reason. I don't know what it is. Could be aliens, but there's a reason that's all a thing.
Dude, okay,
I don't
so
think it's just a story.
did you ever hear of Ares?
Yes.
Okay, and Athena, like no, Aphrodite, like the god of lust, the god of war. I was listening to it described as these gods, they're called gods because they're eternal. And what I mean by that is they're constants throughout all humans, right? They're eternal. As long as there's a human, these gods will exist. And these gods represent, like Ares represents rage, like very powerful rage, like the god of war.
Yes.
When you talk about Aphrodite, the god of lust, like lust exists in all humans, and these gods are like they're the extremes of all these constants. And like when I've okay, hold on. There's an old psychologist called Carl Jung, and he dug into this shit a lot. Like he was digging into religions from all over the world, trying to figure out like the threads that connect them and like what truth was there to them. And he said there's something as called the unconscious mind. It's the part of our mind that like we're not aware of. Things happen, like you're not aware of the systems that made you hungry. Like you're not controlling them as they're forming to make you hunger, to make you mad, and all that sort of shit. And he said the unconscious mind, that's the playground of the gods. Like when you think of someone becoming over like controlled by their lust, that's the god taking over you. Or rage, that's the god of war like taking over you. And like that's a real interesting way to
It's
look
a
at those
very,
old
I've never
gods.
heard an idea like that. So that's really cool. I've never thought about
Right?
it.
It for me it just feels like a puzzle piece, like it starts to click into place.
I'm gonna have to wrap this up
Yeah,
in
man,
like
this is
five
fucking
minutes. I'm getting a haircut for tomorrow, so
oh fuck yeah for the date. Yeah,
yeah,
hell yeah,
getting
man.
ready.
Gotta look spiffy for the boat. I feel you, bro.
Yeah, I got a nice long pea coat to wear,
Oh
so
fuck yeah,
I look like
flexing.
Sherlock Holmes a little bit. Yeah.
Dude, you need the fucking pipe, bro.
I know.
Dude, nothing. I don't know. The girl will just fall in love immediately.
Yeah. Now you said the pipe, I have to go get one or something.
Fuck yeah,
Uh,
bro. It has to be in the Pico. You just can't
yeah,
take it
take
out.
it out. I did actually. I saw. I forget where I was driving. I was driving somewhere with my dad the other day, and we drove past a Hummer, and in the Hummer was like a 30-year-old woman smoking a pipe. Who smokes a pipe at 30 years old in a Hummer? In a Hummer, a
That's
big blue Hummer,
it's a
smoking a
big
pipe.
blue fucking Hummer. This is getting more
Jesus,
interesting.
like,
That's an eccentric person.
where'd you get that? First of all,
That's an alien, bro.
they're just acting like a human.
Uh-huh. It's looking around. This is human, yes.
Yeah.
We smoke. This is car. Okay, all right.
All right.
Kyle,
It was great to talk to you, meet you.
ditto.
And
This was
on
fun.
your way back up here, you'll have to stop by.
Fuck yeah, bro.
All
All right.
right, man.